Framework launched a year ago, as of the day this video is going out. Around the same time, Ubisoft launched Immortals Fenyx Rising, a game I did not play. I saw the Breath of the Wild-like gameplay and thought, nah, I'm good. But I wanted to revisit a game for this anniversary, and I'm happy to say that I was wrong to pass on Immortals back then. There's such a great weight to the combat, the puzzle design is clever, and the writing is some of Ubisoft's best. The Greek gods are portrayed in ways that poke fun at them in such a way that they learn lessons and become better beings for it. I'm happy to say they also changed my opinion of the game. Let's get this out of the way first. Immortals does have clear similarities to Breath of the Wild, like Phoenix's powers and the 4-quadrant layout of the map. It also borrows from another Ubisoft joint, with climbing to and leaping from vantage points just like Assassin's Creed. And, hey wait a minute, God of War is the name of a different game. Well, we can chalk that up to the fact that Ares is literally the god of war. It's not like Immortals stole lines from Kratos or anything.
Do not be sorry. Be better.
Also, Athena's dash has the same name and general concept as one of the boons in Hades. To be fair, that's a fantastic game, and its portrayal of diverse gods elevates the experience. Immortals' portrayal of the gods is also what sets it apart, and luckily we have our own Olympian acquaintance to help explain why.
Ah yes, I am back. Well, not quite, that was actually my cousin in the Hades video. You can tell us apart because he has longer hair, but I have the thicker beard. Still, we both like to party!
So, with that deity dude behind us, let's get into how Immortals' send-up of the Greek gods shows respect for the mythology while still skewering them and imparting lessons. Even something as simple as opening a chest shows a focus on fun, as Phoenix will often drumroll on the lid in anticipation of the riches inside. But the best place to start examining all of this is, well, the start. The entire story is narrated by Prometheus, chained atop a snowy mountain as punishment for giving mortals the gift of fire, which is exactly how the legend goes. This was Zeus's punishment, and the thunder god is immediately shown to be a bit of a self-righteous prick.
Look to the mortals.
That's done. Those evil, imbecilic, tasteless parasites were all turned to stone.
This sets up the dynamic we'll hear in the narration from here on out. Prometheus tells the tale of Phoenix, and Zeus makes snarky comments. Despite his disdain for most mortal things, his lines are often quite funny, and they even have real-world effects on our protagonist.
Phoenix couldn't help.
A huge monster appears.
This is a classic comedy dynamic known as the straight man in comic, or the deadwood in the banana man, or the feet in the foil, whatever you prefer. The principle is this. One person delivers their portion of the story or act with no comedic intent, while the other delivers the punchline. In the case of Immortals, Prometheus is just trying to tell his heroic tale, and Zeus constantly interrupts with one-liners and commentary.
You turned a lot of people into a lot of things.
I need to stop drinking.
Notice a bit of self-analysis in that line? Zeus isn't just being facetious all the time. He does acknowledge his imperfections. In fact, the gods all have realizations during the story that become lessons for Phoenix as our hero grows in skill and reputation.
We all need a mentor sometimes. That's why we literally sent a guy named Mentor with Odysseus on his journey.
Hermes is one of those guiding forces in Immortals, as he directs Phoenix to the Hall of the Gods, which serves as your hub. The winged messenger also fills the comedic role of the goofy best friend, or sidekick. He nudges you in the right direction while dropping playful sarcasm.
Doing good deeds results in good deeds in return. Who would have thought?
Is that a trick question? Because the answer is clearly no one.
Anytime you upgrade your stamina meter, he's right beside you, helping you train. You may even be randomly teleported to his hideaway if you're lucky. He is a trickster after all.
You're dead. This is the underworld. This room. Forever. Just kidding.
In these ways, Hermes isn't just presented as a living tutorial or by-the-books deity, but as a buddy who can point you in the right direction while still having a little fun. From the Hall of the Gods, he lays out the gameplay loop of Immortals. You need to restore the essence of 4 gods who've been transformed and drained of their powers by the evil Typhon. Each god has their own distinct region on the Golden Isle, from Ares' war-torn ruins to Athena's many beautiful temples. And while the game does let you visit any of them first, Aphrodite's Valley of Eternal Spring is suggested, so that's where I initially headed. Plus, who doesn't love alphabetical order?
Yes, the muses all organize their scrolls that way. Personally, I prefer the Demeter decimal system.
Upon meeting Aphrodite, we can see the comedic contrast Ubisoft went for in writing scenarios for each fallen god. Aphrodite, a free spirit who once roamed around the Mediterranean and inspired others to action with her bountiful beauty, is now a wooden tree anchored in place by her roots. At least she can still hit it off with Harold from Fallout 3. It's in her questline that we first see some serious reverence for Greek myths and tradition. Unlocking one of her vaults involves the festival of Adonia, which honors the fallen Adonis. He was Aphrodite's human lover, and the festival celebrated him with lettuce or cabbage grown on the rooftops of women's homes.
Isn't it Aphrodite's choice who she loves?
Not when it's rotten. Like that smell.
More mythology comes into play when you're tasked with rolling a pearl into the sea, recreating the events of Aphrodite's birth. Or so some people say. An alternative origin story involves a particular body part being chopped off and thrown into the sea, much to Zeus's disgust.
Because Kronos cut off his...
You're sick, Prometheus! Do not talk to me!
Aphrodite's questline dances around this ribaldry a few times, as you might expect for a scenario involving the goddess of love and lust. The latter definitely comes back around when she's restored to her true form, much to the delight of that little stinker Hermes.
Looks like you've been loving yourself far too much. Oh, you might want to disinfect that toga.
Of course, she's only able to return to normal once she learns to love herself. Her vanity caused so many men to fight over her that it made her become self-loathing. In cheering her up, Fenyx learns that beauty and pain often go hand in hand.
Or something else in hand, am I right, Hermes?
After Aphrodite, there's Athena, goddess of wisdom. Again, the contrast is clear. The Athena we know from the stories is a strong, fierce, shrewd spear maiden who can make wise decisions. The one we meet in the archives has been turned into a cranky, whining kid.
Were you going to call me little girl?
I was, yes.
That would have gone badly.
Restoring her mature form involves one of my favorite quests in the game. It's a retelling of the Odyssey, in which you recreate the story by bringing Odysseus' ship home and fighting a Cyclops. On the same portion of the map is the original Odysseus Bow Challenge, a reoccurring open-world activity where you're tasked with guiding an arrow through axes to light a brazier. This draws from another classic myth. Odysseus proved his identity to his wife Penelope by shooting an arrow through 12 axe heads. It's another example of Ubisoft's research and implementation of mythology into this game, and we can give a lot of credit to Athena's questline for it. Her questline also gives us a glimpse of the corruption Typhon actually has in this world. We feel it in his booming voice that fills the sky, and in the many monsters he's summoned, sure, but Athena briefly shows us just how close these fallen gods have come to being fully brought to the dark side.
All the heroes failed, but then they became better and stronger. We're going to go straight to that part.
Once you restore Athena's essence and bring her back from the brink, she resumes the mature, wizened form we know her to be. Seeing her in all her glory reminds Fenyx that sometimes stubbornness is a good thing, as confidence can help one ignore bad advice.
Hey look, I'll be honest. Sometimes I start a sentence and I don't even know how it's going to... refrigerator.
From the goddess of wisdom, we turn to the god of war. Except mighty Ares isn't the strong, rippling gym bro that you'd expect to see. He's been transformed into a chicken, both literally and figuratively. His bravery has totally disappeared with his new farm animal form, and he's left with cowardice and despair.
Sorry. Fillet me now. Spare me this shame.
War's Den, the region that Ares presides over, is full of massive weapons, quite fitting for the god of war. Our final destination here is Ajax's fort, and his story is, you guessed it, another example of how myths were incorporated into the game. Ajax was a warrior of great stature, And while the stone giant in War's Den perhaps exaggerates this, I do see the boulder in his hand as a representation of another myth. During the Trojan War, Ajax drove off a fleet of ships with a boulder. Once Phoenix takes back Ajax's fort for Ares, the little chicken regains his bravery, leaping into battle while still in his pitiful poultry form. Even before being restored to his Chris Hemsworth-looking body, Ares learns that his bravery isn't based on how much he can bench or how many soldiers he's slain with a sword. True bravery comes from within, no matter the circumstances. A lesson Phoenix learns as well. Even Zeus has a bit of a breakthrough during Ares' quests.
And Zeus hates me.
Not true. I just prefer Athena's war-making. Leadership, maturity, Apollo's music. Oh my gods, I've become my father.
Like the earlier line about drinking, it's humorous, but in criticizing the god of war, Zeus realizes something greater that will lead to character growth further down the road.
You still have a god left though, right? Can't forget old Heph.
Yes, we still need to talk about Hephaestus, the forge god responsible for crafting some of the greatest weapons and items in all of Greek mythology. Normally, he's a focused craftsman. Driven by a troubled past, he can never truly escape or forget. Your typical tortured artist. But when we meet him, he's been turned into an absent-minded, forgetful automaton.
What are you doing?
Nothing. Nothing. Well, something. One thing.
While the other gods' scenarios pull from a variety of myths, Hephaestus' questline illustrates how far the writing team could take a single concept. The overarching goal is to restore his forge, which involves reigniting all the flames at the central building, opening all the vents to drain the heat from the workshop, and freeing all the water wheels so that water can flow and be used to quench freshly tempered blades. Along the way, you may visit the island where Hephaestus was exiled, one of many dark periods in his life. In fact, this troubled history is why he succumbed to Typhon's grip in the first place. He wanted to forget the past so badly that he was willingly transformed into a being that felt no emotions, the unfeeling, rambling robot we first meet.
I let that monster turn me into one of my automatons. I even enjoyed it.
Because automatons feel nothing at all.
But after using Pandora's box to collect his painful emotions from the past, Phoenix brings these memories back to the surface, and Hephaestus is able to return to his true form. In restoring him, Phoenix learns one of the strongest lessons in the entire game. The hurt we feel can be used for good. It can become the energy that drives us to do great things. Hephaestus is so skilled because he's able to channel his dark emotions into his impeccable work.
Heph made me the greatest golf club I have ever had. Oh, Atlas used to be such a good caddy.
Once all the gods are restored and reunited, Zeus learns his ultimate lesson too.
Zeus is only trying to make up for the fact that he murdered my mother.
They're all right. I'm a terrible father.
Finally! We have a winner!
All the infighting his children have, all the betrayals and bad relationships, they're his fault. He's responsible for creating the circumstances that led to so much strife. As you enter one of the game's final areas, it's clear that this wasn't a momentary epiphany. He's genuinely sorry for what he's done.
All this time, I thought I knew my kids. I didn't know anything.
Weren't you busy running the universe?
I wish that were true, but no. I was busy having fun at everyone's expense, and now the bill has come due.
I've barely scratched the surface of all the Greek mythology that runs throughout Immortals Fenyx Rising. There are pomegranate offerings everywhere, chunks of ambrosia for health upgrades, boss fights with legendary beasts from traditional tales, and so much more. It all gets woven into individual storylines of the fallen gods as you bring them back to their original powerful forms. While you do earn upgrades for doing this, the best reward for Phoenix is the lesson he learns each time. Lessons about inspiring beauty, applied wisdom, true bravery, and purpose in pain. Phoenix, Zeus's children, and Zeus himself learned something from the adventure. And by playing Immortals Fenyx Rising, so did I. I learned it's not some Breath of the Wild ripoff. It's an excellent open-world game elevated by well-researched, humorous writing. And I'm very glad I learned that for myself.
Finally! This story is getting good.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what Framework is doing, definitely hit that subscribe button in the middle. It would help me out an awful lot if you do. And if you want to see what we've already cooked up, you can hit that link on the far left. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.